Electrocast.
Hold on to your butts.
We are changing the course of history as we see it. That is what Wesley demands.
Now, this affects Iris. Iris, where are you?
What you feel only matters to you.
I do not entertain hypotheticals. The world as it is vexing enough.
Iris, I have a tip for you.
Don't take drugs!
Or Whatever Movies with Wesley and Iris.
What up and welcome to Or Whatever Movies. I'm your co-host Iris and I'm here with my older brother
Wesley. See?
Wow. Today we're talking a movie from 1942. Wes, did you realize that Casablanca predates Mom?
I did not realize that until this viewing.
I always thought of this as a mom movie because I remember Casablanca being on constantly in the background at home.
Really? Constantly?
I mean, if it ever came on Turner Classic Movies or whatever, Mom would keep it on.
Maybe Casablanca was the Shawshank Redemption of its day. Maybe Ted Turner got it and just put it on a loop. And then Shawshank came along and he's like, we're switching it up.
What also blew my mind about Casablanca is that 1942 is in the middle of World War II. This was a real-time story that was reflecting maybe some real-time sentiments.
So Casablanca was made just after the Pearl Harbor attacks. It filmed early in 1942. Right afterwards, Casablanca was occupied or invaded.
Yeah, it's so wild.
They have a lot of non-actors, Jewish and even German actors. The guy who played Strasser was a famous German Nazi hater. He was anti-Nazi, and thus he made sure that his portrayal was as reprehensible as possible. He had fled Germany, and if he had been caught, he would have been a traitor, in the middle of making this movie.
For me, especially as a kid, the past is compressed. It's basically one time period. But it just blows my mind to think that it was happening somewhat in real time, like that this was a evolving issue. And I don't know, did Casablanca just kind of happen to come out on the right side of history?
I think that may have been one of the more lucky aspects of Casablanca because production, start to finish, was plagued with bad luck. Nobody believed in it. Everybody kind of forgot about it, moved on, went to different things. And it has endured. I think it was somebody ranked it the second greatest American motion picture in history for a little movie that was one of dozens that any major studio would put out in a given year at that time. There's no shining thing. This was destined to be made. This is our destiny, people, and we shall embrace it. There was daily rewrites. There was lack of chemistry off screen where Humphrey Bogart and Ingrid Bergman weren't talking to each other. All kinds of problems. And then it just kind of endured. So I think it was just, good fortune.
They were pumping these things out assembly line style. And in a Malcolm Gladwell Outliers kind of way, this was the product of people who were so practiced in their craft that they almost accidentally made something brilliant. Like Michael Curtiz, as I understand his name to be pronounced, directed some odd 100+ films. Maybe he was just so in the groove that even if Casablanca was just another film on the list, he directed it with such a deft hand so that it's interesting visually in almost every single way.
Yeah, no, not to say that the filmmakers were bad at what they did. They just didn't anticipate that it would have the success and the endurance that it did. To your point, the set designer, the Rick's, was a reworked set from another movie. They put different fans in that Warner had on the lot, and they changed the decor, and they put in that signature round bar that he has in his bar. But otherwise, it was, just recycled props, recycled sets, which a lot of movies are, granted. But this was just rolling from one thing to another. They're like, we have to make this a bar in Morocco. Okay, well, the fans look weird. Let's put some plants here and stuff. And let's get this piano from this other movie and slot it in there and let's make it. Real efficiency, even if it's part of the, not cookie cutter process, but a streamlined conveyor belt style process where they were like, let's get it done. And there was no room for auteur hemming and hawing and self-doubting and 127 takes and all that kind of stuff. They were like, let's get it done. And Humphrey Bogart regarded it as another character that he did. He didn't feel he was particularly suited for a romantic lead, maybe a little bit too old for that. Ingrid Bergman came in and was like, I'm the love interest or whatever. And which one do I end up with? And they were like, I don't know. We're working it out as we go. And so everyone showed up. Everyone's super professional. But why? Why does it endure? Casablanca stands for me as one of two movies that I can think of that came with so much baggage and so much burden of expectation. This is great and you will love it. And I've been so disappointed. It's only Casablanca and only Apocalypse Now which have survived that sort of predetermined love that falls flat for me. But I feel like I understood this one. And maybe it's because it was unconventional. I don't know if it was unconventional as a result of its movie making process, where we're not sure, but Ilsa can be in love with Laszlo and with Rick, or maybe not with either of them, or she can't decide because the actress was confused. That Humphrey Bogart was having a hard time in his marriage, and that makes him stoic, reserved, kind of stilted Rick, who I don't stick my neck out for nobody, but really he does, obviously. And all those performances came through in a less conventional sense, not like a romantic comedy to which Ingrid Bergman seems to have been accustomed, and Humphrey Bogart didn't really have much of a place. What did Mom say about him?
He was not a handsome man, just average.
But he's got a tough guy kind of thing. He did play, so I guess not romantic comedy conventionally handsome, because his career up until now was bad guys and gangsters.
Mom said gangsters in the 30s, private eyes in the 40s, and military guys in the 50s.
But he looks like Indiana Jones, kind of.
Funny you say that, because Mom also said, quote, as Harrison Ford was good and popular, was Humphrey in his time.
Yeah, a man's man, without being like a John Wayne man's man.
But whatever was going on with him and Ingrid Bergman personally, their chemistry certainly seems to endure. I believe their romance, and I think it's the will she, won't she, will he, won't he, push and pull that's actually part of the intrigue, right? Obviously, there's the whole political intrigue subplot, but I also wonder, is the romance the subplot? What is the driving force of this story? I'm like a little pissed off at Ilsa Lund, at her treatment of her marriage. How is Ilsa's behavior not reprehensible? How is she still such a likable character? Is it because of her innocence? Is it because we sympathize for her impossible situation?
Number one, she's a child, and kids are idiots. Number two, she's a child in a war-torn world with an activist and she's kind of clinging to and following around the world and trying to evade capture, but she thought he was dead. And so all that is fine or whatever, but I don't know that it would have been an ideal situation. It could be that Rick and Ilsa could never survive together, but it was a little bit out of necessity too. That Hollywood convention at the time is that a woman who is married and who has a living spouse is not allowed to mac on another dude in a film. And so they didn't show a lot of that.
But theirs is the only kissing that takes place in the movie of Casablanca. They dance around pretty much every other indiscretion in this movie, such that I didn't even catch a lot of them until my second critical viewing of Casablanca. Like Captain Renault's abhorrent abuse of the young Bulgarian wife that wants to leave Casablanca. Like, that is horrendous, and yet, one, I didn't even know it was happening, and then two, somehow I still love Louis at the end.
A beautiful friendship. The characters are complex in that Rick, is he a good guy? Is he a bad guy? He's complicit with a lot of things. He shoots Strasser in the gut and then just kind of stands there while Renault also saves him by, he's right here. It can't possibly be him. Round up the usual suspects. And they're like, yes, sir, and cart the body away. He's not even like, now you must flee. I can only protect you for so long. He's like, well, maybe I'll take a vacation. The emotional depth, history, backstory. There was no meet cute. To classify this as a romantic comedy seems obviously silly. A romance, for sure. I think that war and political tension is the backdrop of this movie. Incredibly, to me, at least for the time, this would have seemed worldly. And at 37, Rick is like the most, not accomplished, but he's the most world-weary kind of expatriate guy that I can think of. And yet some experts have criticized Casablanca saying that it is politically immature. And I was like, really? Because it's a fully international cast of characters, at least, if not actors, and happening in real time, as you said, in the middle of the war. This seems like more prescient than anything. I can't think of a romance that is more time and place for war and horrific things that are going on than The Unbearable Lightness of Being. But a lot going on that's actually very complicated. There's the pain-tinged edge to the romance that I think makes it feel more real and all the more passionate. It's kind of touted as the most romantic classic movie of Hollywood's golden era. And I'm like, really? Because there wasn't a lot of romance and some pretty tough decisions, and they don't end up at the end. And maybe that's why it endures, because it's just a little off color. Maybe Casablanca was the Lilo and Stitch of Warner Brothers and movies in general at the time.
Mom mentioned that Casablanca ranked up there for her because of its good storyline and because of its sense of fairness. So I thought a lot about the sense of fairness idea. And Casablanca is so satisfying because everything feels right in the end. Because we know in our heart of hearts that Ilsa and Rick do not belong together. That given the broader circumstances, their love is not the first priority. And their love is redeemed. He says at the end that they didn't have Paris because of the way that it ended. But the fact that she came through his gin joint, of all the gin joints in all the world, at that time, they were able to redeem that love. And so even if their romance feels tragic, we know that it isn't meant to be. And we also know that they now will always have what they had. So even if it's not a happy ending in the conventional sense, it's the right ending when they stroll off into the fog at the Van Nuys airport.
Not even. It was a studio soundstage. And this is what I took, because obviously Casablanca is a compelling story, and I feel like it touches on a lot of political stuff, on a lot of cultural stuff that wasn't a part of my world. I kind of view this as history in motion when it seems like it's anything but. And that stuff I really like. Like, they shot the ending and the Humphrey Bogart line after principal photography. All the airfields were still controlled for the war, and they couldn't get one. So they were like, I got a soundstage. And they're like, yeah, but that's a sound. We need an airport. And they're like, let's put some fog in there. But we need a plane. It's the airport. They're going to leave on a plane. And they're like, let's build one out of tinfoil and cardboard. To scale? And they're like, no, make it little so that it looks like it's in the background, give some depth of field, get some little people, put them in clothes. And that's what they did. So it's all thrown together. And like Jaws, when things go wrong and you're doing stuff on the cheap and on the desperate, this weird magic happens that keeps the movie afloat so that they can have that lit up cardboard plane in the background and little people. And then they pull that model plane through the fog or through the fog machine smoke, and it all looks magical, and you're like, oh, the atmosphere and stuff. And
that constraint breeds the creativity, and that really proves itself visually for Casablanca, but also story-wise. Like the fact that some of the storyline itself is suppressed, probably for censorship purposes, it feels restrained and therefore more subtle, maybe more real, and better. Like I wish that there were the same, that if censorship constraints could kind of breed better storytelling, this is probably an example of that.
Yeah, so much time is spent in Rick's, which is a controlled set. And when they have to do bigger stuff, they don't go out into the streets of Casablanca. There's no basket chase with whips and swords. He is trapped and he is stuck, and he has narrowed his world to encapsulate his pain and compartmentalize it. And then she shows up, and Sam starts playing as time goes by. And he's like, I told you never to play that song. And he's like, he's forced to open up his world, but it's pretty contained in a way that I think the best movies like this can be. This was a stage play. Everybody goes to Rick's. Everybody comes to Rick's or whatever. That had never been performed as a stage play. And it's got that vibe.
It works. The illusion works and is sustained. I think it helps that we're very engrossed in the story. It helps that these characters are so convincing. I believe Humphrey Bogart. I believe him and his heartbrokenness and his isolation, his cynicism. Like, I believe all of that from this character. I believe Ilsa's conflict. I believe in Laszlo's conviction, but I do not believe in Sam's piano playing.
Nor should you.
Because Dooley Wilson does not know how to play the piano. Every time he's on screen, I'm just watching him pat the keys.
You're watching his fingers?
And it's like, and his hands are just staying in one place. It's hilarious.
He's an accomplished musician.
He's incredible, but he can't play. He can't play the piano.
No,
but we
he's a drummer.
we forgive Casablanca for any of that fakeness or stiffness or for its plot holes because of how immersive the world is.
Yeah. I'm considering coining the I Love Lucy effect, where they talk about, the deep reaches of Africa and Borneo, and they put on a tribal mask before globalization and access to world travel was really a thing for a lot of people, particularly during the war. Casablanca feels romantic and exotic. And, right? And international and all that stuff, but they don't know. The letters of transit is like the first MacGuffin that I can think of.
So these letters of transit are a sticking point for people. What's the problem?
They don't exist. You can't, it's not a get out of jail free card. It's just not a magical pass that you can hand around. What does it say? Non-transferable on there? It's like a blank check for world travel in the middle of the war. The closest thing that happens in the world like this is, issuances of things like diplomatic immunity, where when diplomats or political representatives need to move around the world, they're not hindered in their necessity to travel different places. But just random letters of transit that can be transferred to anyone, fill it out like a blank check, did not exist, which I guess could be conceived as a convenience for this movie. Just another hustle. I was linking this to Sam. The fact that they got a real guy. Dooley Wilson is an accomplished drummer and singer, but he can't play the piano at all. But that doesn't mean they didn't get a real dude just off screen playing the piano within eye line of Sam, so he can watch that dude's fingers and pretend to play along.
Oh, there was a real pianist?
Yeah.
That was playing?
Right. And Dooley is watching that guy's hands and trying to mimic him with his movements.
Huh.
But I'm saying they got in there and he's like, I don't play piano. And they're like, just do it. This guy's going to play piano. That's the live sound on set. Go. And he's like they're all trying their best and they're all doing a thing to make it work, which really makes me happy. Because when I read about all this stuff, when I heard about all this stuff, I had to go back and watch the ending again. Is that a fake plane? It looks great. And anything that doesn't look 100% photorealistic or accurate to me, I just chalked up to, dude, this is 84 years old.
Wow. Movie magic, man. This is movie magic in action, and I think that they employ it in other more realistic and subtle ways. Like there was the fog at the end, but they're pretty much smoking constantly, like chimneys. This movie, like everyone is smoking in Rick's, and all of that smoke, especially because it was period appropriate, is so atmospheric and lends so much character and motion and depth to Rick's. It's kind of crazy. It makes me want to see more of that, even though we know it's so terrible now.
Romance, even. You mean you want to see more smoking or more atmosphere?
More smoking. Smoking is, they have such great business because they're in a bar and they can smoke and they can drink and they can open up safes and people can come in and out and their shadows can dance against the walls, all Indiana Jones style. It's great. Was Steven Spielberg mimicking Casablanca?
Like the serial stuff, the Indiana Jones stuff? Well, the time period, I'm sure, because Steven Spielberg is a fan of classic cinema. He's like Claude Rains, and for his favorite actors of all time, it was all based around this time period. You know, he's Mom's age, and Mom loves kind of exclusively these movies. And if we show her new movies, she's like, it was cute.
And
forgets about
let's
it.
watch Casablanca. Yeah. Speaking of Claude Rains, do you remember Dad quoting Claude Rains? And he would say, I'm shocked to see that gambling is going on in this establishment.
Nope.
Really?
It's weird because Dad was a fan and a super rewatcher of certain movies, not all movies. And I don't remember him quoting movies broadly. I mean, we kind of ushered Dad into the repeat video on demand, VHS, DVD, and streaming kind of thing where he could watch Cry Macho like 35 times. This was when we were little?
In parts. He would watch it in parts. Either he quoted it or he'd like jab me in the side when the scene was on and be like, watch this, cool guy.
He's a pretty cool guy. Rick was, a pretty early anti-hero and ends up being the good guy. He's a little rough. He grabs women by the arm and stuff, and not terribly outwardly romantic.
Murders Nazis.
Because he's all jaded from Paris and stuff.
Manipulates the police.
And not afraid to use the gun.
Do you think he really would have shot Louis?
No, I'm not sure how much of that was play acting because they both seem to be able to turn on a dime and be like, we're friends now. And after he shoots Strasser, which really shows his conviction and determination, he then turns his back on Louis. And you're like, so everybody trusts everybody? I guess they were in, cahoots the whole time.
Oh, they were always birds of a feather. Because they were so alike, I think there was a deeper and mutual respect that was just waiting to kind of be unleashed.
They were like Indy and Sala.
Aw. Everyone likes Rick. He might be a little rough around the edges, but he's honest. And the funny thing is, he is who he is throughout the entire film. I thought that he has an arc, but isn't he just becoming the man that he always was in the end?
Yeah, he's like a what are those onions called? Cipollini onion. He's just all little and hurt or whatever, and you peel his little baby leaves and he's all soft in the center. Dude, women love that. They're like, I can fix them.
They love Cipollini onions?
Well, I think in general, they're fancy.
They are. Aren't those ones that they pickle?
They can be, or little baby pearl onions or whatever. Cipollinis are better for cooking.
What about shallots?
Shallots
Cipollini
are
versus the shallot.
Underutilized, but shallots, I'll tell you what, they impart a lot of flavor. They're like concentrated little glorious onions. And most importantly, they fry up in a way that onions never could. They super crisp. Like you can make crispy shallots. I don't know consistency-wise how they differ from onions, but you can make crunchy little bits out of shallots, which I appreciate.
I have a shallot that was sitting in a jar for like months, and then I opened up the jar and it totally sprouted.
Well, yeah, it's just trying to live. I do that with potatoes. I keep them on the counter, and they start reaching out. Their little tendrils are it's like, what are you doing? What are you doing? And they reach out for months because they're like the camels of vegetables, and then all of a sudden they up and die like E.T. Spoiler.
Some IMDb featured reviews, 10 stars, will always have Casablanca.
Great. It's nice that people can hold on to a thing where I'm not bewildered. Like, why do you like that movie still? Like Cry Macho. Like, at least Casablanca has the substance for some movie magic in the best sense, where it all comes together and people are like, whoa, when it wasn't engineered that way. It's so hard to engineer a classic from intention.
One of my favorites, 9 stars, Rick the Casbah.
That's pretty good. That's clever. Not to be confused with Rock the Casbah. Is it a Casbah?
Everything, aren't all cafes in Morocco Casbahs?
I don't know. Never been to Morocco.
Yeah, I had the option of either going to Israel, Palestine or Morocco, and we chose Israel, Palestine.
Well, yeah, because at least you took your opportunity. You can still go to Morocco.
Oh, yeah. I can't go to Palestine?
I don't recommend it right now. Give it 20, 30, 60 years.
10 stars, a masterwork for all time.
It's got the varnish or the donut glaze of love over decades. I mean, what more than Casablanca endures in a Wizard of Oz kind of fashion? Casablanca, I would not say is a movie for kids, but it endures, and I'm okay with that.
Okay, and just for funsies, 6 stars. Gonna get slammed for this. It was boring and corny.
What do you want, man? I mean, nobody is fast or furious in this movie. Dude, they're all in hiding. They're worried about the Nazis, and the Nazis are punks.
There is a lot of talking, but it really helps that so much of that dialogue is so witty and quippy and fun and quotable.
And maybe high energy because of the fact that these stars were being handed those scripts on the morning of for major scenes.
You gotta hand it to both the writers and the actors for that.
Well, you have to hand it to them. Otherwise, how are they going to know what they have to say on camera that day?
So what is my rating system, Wes?
From the olden days, from the Casablanca days, boring, not boring. Good or boring?
I can't think of another movie that I've watched critically recently that is good in almost every way. And maybe that's an overstatement, and maybe I've got my Casablanca rose-colored glasses on. But what is bad about it? What is boring about it? I completely disagree with that IMDb user review.
I think the talkiness of it is a sticking point. Look, I have a problem with older movies. I find them boring. I find them stilted. They really works for Rick's character. This blushing, like Ilsa, like, Rick, what do you mean? Why my name? Is kind of like the transatlantic accent and all that stuff. In her case, she's Swedish, but, what are you going to do? But it works for her. It all just sort of works in a magical way for a time and place, but like Casablanca is the entry point for Africa and for the continent, this is an entry point for people who have concerns about boring talkies, where movies just aren't made that way anymore. And modern movie audiences, I had concerns. And to see that Casablanca was gratifying and carried me all the way through was such a relief for me. Maybe that's just a modern moviegoer who hasn't had a lot of opportunity to delve into the cinema of the 40s.
And it does not disappoint. And that's our discussion on Casablanca from 1942. Can't believe it. Our oldest movie at orwhatevermovies, orwhatevermovies.com, or wherever you get podcasts. Check out 400 plus, including our bonus episodes, movie discussions there. And let us know what you think, 818-835-0473, or whatevermovies@gmail.com. So thanks for listening, and here's looking at you, kid.
That was Humphrey Bogart's improvised line. It kind of works because it doesn't mean anything.
Electric acid.